I'm going to open up chats here. Alrighty, and we're going live. Okay. So we're live on YouTube. Hi YouTube, how are you everyone? So good to see you guys. We are just going to be setting up our live, and we're live on Facebook as well. Awesome. How is everybody tonight? Let me go into the chat just so I can see what you guys are saying. I'm going to open up. I want to be able to respond to you guys. So let me just open that up for us. One moment. And I can't wait to connect. How's everybody feeling? Type it in the chat. I want to hear all about you guys. All right. So tonight we have a very special event. I'm going to pass it over to our featured healer, Scout Bartlett, in just a moment. Today we're going to be talking about, well, I'll let him explain a little bit deeper what we're actually going to be focusing on, but we're basically just creating a space for meditation and awareness with all the things that are happening in the world around us today. And so what we like to do here during this event, which is twice a month in Higher Circuit, is kind of hold space for healing and connection between ourselves, the healers here, and you guys out there that are, holding space in your homes for healing, transformation as well. So tonight we want to talk about how to be your own light and how to embody that light. Scout's going to get into that. I'm going to let him introduce it in just a moment. I want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight, and please do share if you guys see some value in the work that we're doing, the information that we're talking about here. Share it with your friends and your networks and groups. We want to try to get as many people in so we can hold space when we're doing this kind of meditation work. Okay, so thank you so much for joining, and I'm going to pass it over to Scout. Actually, before I do that, let me introduce everybody that's here. I'll introduce myself first. Geraldine Orozco, owner of Bay Area Meditation, and you can find me at geraldineorozco.com. And I'm going to pass it on to Kathleen Szymanski. Go ahead. Tammy, you're muted. Let's unmute you. There you go. Let's go with Julie. Welcome.
This wonderful collective of divinely appointed healers, psychics. We all come together, and I'm so grateful to be here tonight to support Scout in his talk. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bobby Vasquez, Biofield Tuning San Jose. I'm a sound therapist, biofield tuner, audio engineer. I do sessions, and I love this group right here. We're onto something really cool. Thank you for stopping by, and please join me next month or the end of the month, where I'll be tuning the collective on November 21st. Thank you.
Awesome. And Scout.
Phew. So away we go.
Please take it away.
Perfect. Hi, folks. I'm glad to be here. I'm Scout like Pathfinder, Bartlett like Pears. That's sort of a habit to say that. I have been practicing in the intuitive field for decades. And in addition to that, a thing that guidance had me start doing, gosh, a large number of years ago, is every year in December, I do a Holy Days message trance where I step my personality completely out of the way. I sort of end up feeling like the caterer in the kitchen listening through the doorway as my highest guides take over my body and speak through and run the energy through to give their messages so that none of it has me as part of the translation link. In those, oh, and I always mention that I don't advise that you try that on your own at home. It's a high level practice. Otherwise, it would be sort of like walking into a bar at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday and saying, "I just inherited $3 million. Who's an expert that could invest it for me?" Not an invitation that you want to put out. Over the last several years, guidance has been talking a lot about this particular period of time. We're in the midst of a huge transformation of the energy flow of this particular reality system. We're in the midst of a huge transformation of the energy flow of this particular reality system that we're used to thinking of as Earth. The last time we saw this large of a transformation was when it quit being Atlantis and became Earth as an overall reality system. Now, you can go wherever you want with that, but among the pieces that guidance has given me along the way is a preview into what it is that we're seeing on the planet right now. That numbers not important, because I see a lot of people attaching different numbers of this and that and whatever. Numbers not important. That what we're in the midst of right now is uplifting. If you thought of Earth as having been a third grade classroom energetically, we're uplifting from being a third grade classroom to being a fourth grade classroom. And in doing that, we're elevating the frequency of energy. As they talked about it, they gave me a list of stuff that we would see and that we are seeing now. And I find it handy in that the same way that the first time that I really like scraped up my knee and, and my mom taught me first you get all the dirt out, then you put on an antiseptic and then you bandage it up and leave it the heck alone. And I remember her being able to tell me that when my knee was itching like crazy, she was able to say, "Don't worry, that's not something awful going on. That's just healing. If it's itching, it's healing." And so, then I could know to leave it alone. Kind of finding the same thing right now with the information that guidance has given me, that we're on track with exactly the symptoms or symptomology that we would be expecting in this sort of an energetic transformation. Things that they mentioned decades ago was that we would see countries changing their boundaries, which we've been watching happen as different countries have taken over chunks of what used to be other countries and other people's opinions. That we would see it being much more difficult to hide a deception, which we're seeing, which is coming as quite a surprise to people that are used to functioning deceptively. That we would see a huge polarity happening between human beings. And quite frankly, I thought I was seeing that 13 years ago, but little did I know this is really what it's about. That we would see a huge division and a huge polarization of two sides polarizing on the face of the planet, not just in our area, but planet-wide. And we're watching that go on. And just to give you a quiet piece of it, don't let it freak you out, but among the things they mentioned is that we would see a bloodless coup overturning the government of the United States. And we're watching the government of the United States has been going through a massive transformation of how it works and how it runs over the last several years. Now, that's the stuff that's on the weird side, because that's all that out there in the world stuff. So allow me to remind you that everything is energy and every non-thing is energy. Everything is energy. Quantum physics gets there and says that. Metaphysics has said that for a very long time. You can come all the way around the cycle. Everything is energy, including you. It's all energy and energetic patterns. And the energetic patterns that we embody, the energetic patterns that we carry in ourselves, change both what's reflected to us in our world around us, and also changes what we're magnetizing to us, how we carry that energy flow in us. So the upside of what guidance talked about in this transformation, first off, they pointed out that when large percentages of the population of people on the planet are thinking about the same thing at the same time, even if they're not thinking the same thing about it, when large percentages of the population on the planet are thinking about the same thing at the same time, that joins that thought process together, and that's actually part of the process that boosts this energetic reality that we think of as Earth up a notch. And so we've had politics that are bringing people around the world focused on, in a lot of cases, focused on American politics, but focused on other politics. We've got the virus that's going around the planet at the moment that's bringing people's focus all across the world onto the same thing, including even really isolated pockets of humanity. Yeah, well, it managed to get in there too. You know, between researchers and log poachers, even the isolated pockets have gotten introduced to this virus. And so we're seeing a whole lot of the population focused on the same idea, and that elevates the frequency. So some of the joys of what's going on in this elevated frequency is many of you may have noticed that the energetic differentiation between us and those who we are bonded by heart that are on the other side, that have crossed over, that energetic differentiation, if you thought of the other side of the veil as having been at one level and that we used to be at a level down here, as our energetic frequency is moving up, we're coming closer and closer to the frequency of that veil. So many of you may have noticed that you're having a lot of moments of feeling very connected or very wistful or even grieving people that are connected to you at heart that have crossed over. You may notice that that's showing up in your world a lot. It's not just because you're in social isolation. It really is that those frequencies have gotten closer, but equally, the difference between the frequency of our reality and the frequency of our intuitive reality is also coming closer. I know us as a group, as practicing intuitives that live inside our intuitive every day, we're all watching, how do I put this? Even though my intuitive has been pretty open and there's a lot of information that flows from it and has been for years, I've been doing readings for decades. I lost count at 30,000 different clients, and that was a while ago. But even though I'm used to that, I'm noticing that I'm having more and more spontaneous flashes of information that turns out to be very useful for the client. I'm having more and more spontaneous pictures because I'm primarily clairsentient. I'm primarily clairsentient, and the vision. So that's I sense with my intuitive. All right, clairvoyant is what we hear in newspapers because or in movies and such because it's visual. It just means clair as in clear or sensitive, voyant as in visual. Clairaudient, again, we hear it in movies and stuff because it's auditory. Clair as in clear, intuitive, sensitive. Audient as in auditory. Clairsentient is simply clair as in clear, intuitive. Sentient means that I sense it. It's a body experience for me. And then there's probably fancy words for clairsmellient and clairtastient. I just don't know what they are, but I've had the experiences, so I know they exist. Okay, so I'm primarily clairsentient, and the visual aspect is a secondary aspect for me. In fact, when I need the visuals, I tend to go to the feeling of it and then look for what that feeling looks like, as opposed to immediately having the visuals. Except in the last 8 or 9 months, I'm noticing that I'm getting more and more of those visual flashes that come together with the feelings that have a whole lot to do with the client or the friend that I'm talking to. Random stuff that pops to mind that when I'm courageous enough to say it out loud, it stuns the client or it stuns the friend of, wow, amazing that you'd say that. Amazing you were thinking of that right now. That's what's been going on. That's where my world is. So that intuition gap is becoming closer. And then the other thing that's even more fun to watch is that the it's always been true that whatever thoughts we're holding fixed in our subconscious, repeating over and over and over, we tend to magnetize them to us. Now, I want to really clarify because people get that one confused. If I say, ow, my foot hurts, that doesn't mean that I'm drawing to me foot injury any more so than if I say, gee, I think I'd like to win the lottery tomorrow. Means that I'm drawing a lottery winning to me, which would be okay with me, but that would make the lottery much less interesting if everybody that said it once won the lottery. 8 million people would win a $4 million lottery and everybody get 50 cents. It's those thoughts that we allow to be ninga, 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 running repeatedly in the back of our mind. Illustration, if you've ever had the joy of trying to have a conversation with a friend that just went through a severe upset or a breakup in a relationship, or they just went through a severe upset or a breakup in a job, you'll notice that it doesn't matter what topic you try for, it's going to veer like a train on a switch and go right down the track of they never should have this, and then they never should have that, and they never should have that, and you'll hear the tape that's running over and over in the back of our mind. That's the magnetic part. That's the part that does the magnetic attractions into our reality, is that subconscious part. Well, because we're increasing the frequency of physical reality, you may have noticed that the speed of time versus the speed of thought has shifted. I mean, I did find it weird that when we first went into, isolation in March, it seemed like that between the 26th of March or the 16th of March and the end of April seemed like about 4 months. But all of a sudden, if you look at it if you look back to now between the middle of March and now we're 5 Saturdays away from Christmas. 5, yeah, I think it's 5. Whoosh. And you may have noticed, those of you that have those of you that have a procrastination skill, or those of you that just can't pronounce the word, you may have noticed that what you used to put off till this afternoon now doesn't resurface for a couple days. Okay, the speed of time has, the whole physical universe has sped up at the same time. So your clock still matches sunrise, but the speed of time versus the speed of thought has increased. But also the speed of time versus what you're holding deep inside your thought process and magnetizing or attracting to you has also compressed, has also come closer, has also decreased. So in terms of intentionally setting a deep conscious willfulness about what you would choose to manifest or magnetize or see in your reality, now is the time to really take charge of all of that subconscious part of you and guide it and retrain it. And the way that you retrain those ninga, ninga, ninga stuff in your subconscious is to simply interrupt it. Every time you can catch it, you interrupt it. Now, a meditation practice, and we'll teach the live beam meditation to you here in a minute. But a meditation practice is really a practice of intentionally choosing a focus, a thought, a concept, a visual, a mantra, whatever. But it's really a practice of intentionally choosing a particular focus and then allowing yourself to notice every single time that your thoughts have wandered off into some other chatter, and to interrupt those thoughts and come back to your focus. Notice when your mind has wandered off into chatter, interrupt those thoughts and come back to your focus. Notice, lather, rinse, repeat like shampoo. It's really retraining that inner part of your mind to interrupt those thought loops and come back in your subconscious to a chosen focus, so that you actually can retrain that ninga, ninga, ninga subconscious repeating stuff to bring it out. Now, in some cases, you may find that you'll run into old wounds, old injuries, old angers, old upsets, this isn't how it should be, this isn't how it should have gone. And again, you want to interrupt that and come back to your chosen focus so that you're magnetizing. Now, welcome to the day the world changed. Wednesday, November 4th, is a day that's going to be remembered in history as the day the world changed. No matter how any of the court stuff, no matter how any of the counting stuff, no matter how any of the whatever stuff turns out, it's a marked day that the world changed. So, you've got an option. If you're listening, if you made it this far into this, then you know you're a seeker. You know that you're metaphysically oriented. and you know that you're oriented into the part of you that's beyond day-to-day tie my shoes and eat my Cheerios, or whatever you might eat. If you made it this far into the broadcast, you've got a connection here. There's a reality to that connection, and there's a part of you that knows it. There's a part of you that knows that there's way more than what you pick up in your first five senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, sound. If you've made it this far, you know that you're aware of those first five senses, and you're aware that there is a sixth sense beyond sight, smell, taste, touch, sound that, as we just discussed, can come in as an additional sight, an additional sound, an additional smell, an additional taste, whatever. And that's a moment where we can be a choice. So sometimes it feels really frustrating to think that there's things we're supposed to do as a human doing out there in the world to make the doingness of the world work better, work differently, work how it should be. Because we get in these huge arguments inside ourselves between how it is and how it should be, you know, how it is and how it should be. That's really what the it is what it is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be an argument ender. It's supposed to be noticing that we're having a conflict between how it is and this mental construct of how it should be. There is no, everybody breathe, please, long, deep breath. This part's going to be hard to take. There is no how it should be. Everybody breathe, please. Deep breath, let it out again. Watch where you just clenched up if you did. There is no how it should be. Even within the notion of a huge flow of reality that we only have the word God, or we can borrow other words like Tao, even within the notion of a huge flow of a reality and a huge flow of an organized reality, there is no way that things should be. There only is how they are. Period. Tough lesson, not my favorite. I think if I'm going to come back again, I want to renegotiate whether I'm on a world where that's how it works. But that is how it works here. There only is how it is and how it can be. There is no how it should be. There only is how it is and how it can be. And we're discovering as we're watching the world that there's, right at the moment, there's a pretty stark polarity between two solid belief systems about how it should be. And even within those two belief systems, there's a stark polarity between two different belief systems of how it could be. Groovy. That's not the point. We get caught up in a part of us feeling like that there's something we should be doing. And I want to agree, if you see a beneficial thing that's available for you to do, be doing that doingness. Oh God, suddenly I sound like Romper Room. But if you see that there's a beneficial thing that you can be doing that doingness. But in the meanwhile, everything is energy, including you. Everything is energy, including you. And so the single most, oh, I love this, the most beneficial right thing you should be doing, all right, that was all crap, but a very definite single beneficial thing that's the truth about us is that we are not human doings. Even our language reminds us that we are not human doings. We are human beings. It's a beingness state. Even if you look at the Zen koan of chop wood, carry water, that's not about wood or water. Chop wood, carry water is a whole practice until people can let go of the importance of what they're doing and come back to being able to be themselves in the midst of even a menial task. Even if they've been transferred to go study with the highest teacher and they're ready for the highest teacher's teachings, and the highest teacher says, great, I will teach you these high teachings, but first the wood bin's empty. Fill it, would you? I'm supposed to be learning highest teachings, chop, chop, chop. Oh, great master, the wood bin's filled. Now teach me. Well, that's great, but the water cistern's empty. Splash, 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 splash. I'm supposed to be getting higher teachings. This is not how it should be. Ah, great, the water's full, but I noticed the wood bin is empty again. Chop, 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 until the student finally reaches the, I am here being what I am being, whether I'm chopping wood, carrying water, or sitting at the feet of the master, or, stirring their eggs. We're not human doings. And we get so caught up in the frontal mind part of ourselves that think we are human doings, that there's something we should do, that there's things we should do, that we need to do things so that things will be the way they should be, as if how that which is source views the world is based on whether or not the pickup sticks are stacked appropriately. No. Each of us is an energy center. Each of us is call it a highest essence, unfolding a set of tangled energies, lessons through the course of a life path. That's our participation factor. Each of us is a highest essence, an inherent nature, unfolding a series of energy tangles, unfolding these energy tangles that are our energy lessons. Wednesday night cheers. To unfold, untangle a whole energy pattern. Everything that you're untangling in your life, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or you recognize it as spiritual, is all four. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. It's all just viewed differently. The same way that the shirt I have on has a visual aspect of a color. It has a tactile aspect of a feel to it. And if I was a kid trying to sneak out my upstairs window, it would have a tensile strength to it, but it's still just shirt. Everything we experience, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, is all four, just viewed from different perspective. And in my view, it's, call it an upside down pyramid, where the spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect, runs underneath all of it. Everything and every non-thing is energy. Again, quantum physics agrees. They just think that we disagree about energy, but I've gotten to have that discussion with world-class quantum physicists. It was fun. I said, well, how do you know that the energy I'm talking about isn't the energy you're talking about? To which they said, well, because you can't perceive the energy we're talking about. To which I admit I was smart aleck enough. I just said, well, maybe you can't. I do. I live in it. But I've watched this process and I've studied it. And the key element is that the universe does not flow from have what I want, then I get to do what I want, then I'll get to be what I wanted to be. It flows from be what it is I am. Then I'm doing everything I am from that state of being. And then that magnetizes and draws toward me circumstances that match that magnetic beingness. It's a tricky time right now to disconnect out of the ning of we need to be afraid of this, we need to be afraid of that, you're wrong, afraid, fear, awful, awful, terrible, terrible, the whole thing's going to die and we'll all go away, which, would be sort of an easy shortcut. We don't get that easy shortcut. It really is about that we're in the midst of an increase of frequency of this Earth reality system. There's a lot of different pictures that go with that as to whether or not everybody graduates to 4th grade at the same time, or if some of the kids stay in 3rd grade and some of the kids graduate to 4th. But we will notice there's a whole lot of people leaving the planet right now because they don't want to stick around and be here for the remodel. Like people that move out of their house when they're going to remodel. There's a whole lot of people, and sorry, I don't mean to be insensitive, but it's a truth. There's a whole lot of people leaving the planet over the last 2.5 years. In fact, we've almost hit a turnaround point where more people are leaving the planet than are entering, to where we're having a reversing birth rate for a period of time. I don't know if we quite got there yet, but we're close. We're in the midst of this transformation. And it's an energetic transformation with a lot of physical world craziness. We're getting volcanoes, we're getting hurricanes, we're getting melting ice, we're getting weird and interesting new viruses, weird and interesting new bugs, weird and interesting new versions of how nations are interacting with each other. We're in the midst of this amazing transformation period. And it's so easy to get caught up in all that stuff and forget that you actually have a center, and that your actual role is for you to notice every time you've gotten caught into all of that stuff and bring yourself back to center. Notice every time you've gotten caught into all that stuff and bring yourself back to center. Notice when you've gotten caught, bring yourself back to center. Notice when your mind is telling you all the things to be afraid of, bring yourself back to center. Notice when all that chatter's going on, Bring yourself back to center. Notice when you've gotten caught into a serious case of should be's and shouldn't be's, and bring yourself back to center. Now, please don't miss my point. I am not saying that being in center also means you are a doormat. You know, I have gotten to see gurus and realized people who are very much in their center, still very able to say, nope, not going to do that. That's not what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Bring yourself back to center. Take that key. See, our role right now, you could think of it like what we want to be is we want to be a radiant light. Every time we can remember to come back, we want to be a radiant light, as if what our job is, as if what we should be doing, get it? As if what our role is to be, call it a huge camp lantern in the middle of camp, camping out in the woods. So that anybody that wandered off into the woods to go play tag or go play hide and seek or go find a tree, anybody that wandered off in the woods, all they have to do is be able to spot that light and come back to it. Marianne Williamson, in the quote that's frequently attributed to Nelson Mandela, part of what she says is that our playing small does not serve the world. We're born to manifest that glory. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And that's our key, is to keep coming back to the center of us, view our world. I'm not saying ignore your feelings, have your feelings, but don't be them. It's a huge differential. And part of the doorway between have your feelings and be stuck being them, I find, is a meditation practice, so that we can build that ability to have the part of us that is the monitor, that is the observer, that I simply refer to as awareness and consciousness. Building our ability to have our awareness intact within us in the midst of all the chatter that wants to, like, you know, run us right up, run the meter right up to the top and be outraged. Building our ability to have our feelings and yet still cut back to our center. One of the most beautiful descriptions I ever heard of the word guru, which is not guru meaning that you studied wine or guru meaning that you write code. Guru in the real meaning meant fully realized. Guru was really only applied to beings that were fully realized. And aside from the G, you are you joke, one of the best definitions I heard was the guru has reached the state where they are fully able to see the perfection in everything, while still being able to weep or cry the tears for the pain of the human experience. It's both. It's not a renunciation of I'm only going to stay away from the world and have my highest thoughts, but it's also not a, gee, I'm only going to get all crunched down with how it should be versus how it is. The ability to see the perfection in it all. Now, that's a reach. I've had some masters apply some words to me about levels of elevation. And I certainly highly believe in the lightness part of enlightenment. And as I've been on my path and study, I'm clearly teacher, not guru, but as I've been on my path and study, what I've watched is that there is more and more lightening as one moves more and more toward enlightenment. A lot of the gurus, when you see them, they sort of are able to laugh at everything and still have the recognition of the pain of it. This is a moment in time for us to be having our feelings, having our responses, hearing our own mind tell us all the threatening, crazy things it wants to tell us, because conscious minds don't like it when they can't predict the future. If you've ever noticed, whole companies are based on the young people come in and make suggestions, and the people that have been there longer say, we don't do it that way. Well, why not? It would work perfectly because we've never done it that way, right? Minds don't like when they can't predict the future. And right now, other than how long it'll take for me to heat up something on my stove rather than go to a restaurant and have it, there's not a lot of futures that we can predict right at the moment. Everything looks like it's different and it's up in the air. Our forests are different, our parks are different, our air that we breathe is different. Our minds are going crazy with the whole notion of that they can't predict our future, which they never could. That's the punchline of the joke, is your mind never could predict your future based on your past, but that didn't stop it from trying. One of the future events, we'll do a whole evening on the art and structure of grieving, which is really getting your mind to adapt to a new and different future. But I really want you to get is that everybody's minds are going crazy. You may notice if you listen to the traffic reports that even though there's probably 25%, a third the number of cars on the road, there's easily the same number or more number of traffic accidents, because people's minds are elsewhere, so wigged out that they're not present, even when driving a vehicle. They're not present, even when they're walking. They're not present. They're not present even in having a conversation with somebody about avocados. All of a sudden, there's a place where they need to pick a fight because they're in that level of urgency, and their conscious mind is just freaked out in the fight or flight notion about, I can't predict my future, so I need to attack everything. I need to back into my den and growl and bark and snap my teeth at everybody. So, I mean, among the things we're going to see as we come out in a few months is we're going to see a baby boom from people being, socially isolated. We're also going to see a divorce boom from people being socially isolated. It'll be entertaining to watch as long as you're not in the middle of it. But the key part being is that a role we can have is a beingness as opposed to the doingness. And again, if you spot a thing that you can do that's beneficial, be doing that doingness. Dive in and do. And at the same time, the key part being is every time that you can catch yourself lost in a mind chatter, ninga, 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 ninga. They're so wrong, it's so wrong, I'm so wrong, I want to go, I want to go bark and show my claws. Interrupt that in your own mind, and don't be angry at you, just in your own mind, say stop, and then shift to what we're going to establish in a minute. That'll be your chosen thought process of you in your center, because our role becomes for each of us to come back to our own center and be our own light. Big camp lantern in the middle of camp. It doesn't matter who sees the light and finds their way into camp. At least they're found again, even if this wasn't their camp to start with. From there, they can at least recenter and find their way to what was their camp to start with. For every single one of us that allows ourselves to be a body of light shining and radiating out into the world, that's one more body of light. It's one more point of light that can be contagious. Every single one of us that interrupts the thought chatter, every single one of us that interrupts our thought chatter and comes back to being our own light, interrupts our thought chatter and comes back to being our own light, interrupts the thought that says, well, I don't know how to be my own light, and comes back to being our own light, interrupts the, but they're so very wrong, and comes back to being our own light. But I'm terrified, I don't know where it's going to go, and comes back to, but everything's going south in a handbasket, no brakes, come back to being. Each of us that can come back to remembering that we are a body, a being of light, and allow that light to radiate out through us is one more point of light in the darkness. I grew up in a Protestant church, and one of my favorite things they would do is every year at Christmas Eve, when everybody actually came to church, they would have a point where they'd turn off all the lights in the big, huge sanctuary, and there'd just be one candle burning at the front, with a lot of ceremony and, religious stuff. The minister at my church would then light his one candle from that, and now there's two lights in the room. And when you came in, everybody got a slightly larger than a birthday candle stuck through a piece of paper so that you wouldn't drip all over. And the minister would walk up and light one candle on each side of the aisle, and the person next to them would light their candle. And so that light would go from candle to candle to candle. And I grew up as an engineer. I can't help it. And I would sit with the bulletin, the program of the evening, open in my lap, and there'd be a piece of me that would be waiting to see how long it was before there was enough light in the room that I could read the program from the ambient light in the room. And I loved watching this room become fully lit from however many hundred little tiny candles, little tiny points of light. That's my illustration. It's for each one of us that can remember to come back, even if we think we're just a little tiny candle, if we can come back into our center and our light, that allows us to be one more point of light in darkness. And for every point of light in darkness, then, it's both contagious, the same way the candles lit from each other. It's contagious for others to remember to come back to their center. And it turns out it can't stay dark very long if there's enough, even little points of light. So I'd like to introduce you all to the practice that I use, which we call the LIVE, Live Beam Meditation. We're going to teach it to you here in about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So if your brain just said, oh, I need a snack, I need a bathroom, I'm going to tell you a real simple truth about you. If your mind just said, I can't possibly hang in with this for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, you're wound up a little too tight. So settle in, find yourself a place to get comfortable, let your eyes go closed. And just draw in a long, deep breath till your lungs are full and let that air flow out again. And as you're ready for another breath, let it be a long, deep breath. And this time, imagine the air flowing out through your body, as if your body were layers of silk or fabric. And with each breath, let the air flow in and let it flow out through your body, feeling your body open and expand. And in your imagination now, imagine reaching a hand down to the center of this planet Earth and stirring that warm, rich, dense energy there in the center of the planet. Curl that imaginary hand into a cup and use that cupped hand now to pull a streamer of energy. It's just energy passing through energy. Use that cupped hand, that imaginary hand, to pull a streamer of energy from the center of the earth, right up through the earth, up and into your body, just in front of your tailbone. There's an energy center there. We just call it your first chakra. And let yourself take a moment to feel that sense of connection. Base of tailbone, center of planet, warmth. Let it warm all through that pelvic cradle. And I know we get taught to guard our energy around our reproductive parts. Just let that energy warm up. Now, focusing on that connection, let's stretch that streamer of energy that we created from the center of the earth. Let's stretch it from base of spine, first chakra, up into your lower abdomen, second chakra, orange, stretching it on up to your upper abdomen, solar plexus, deep inside your body though, just in front of your spine, stretching it up to solar plexus, yellow, stretching it deep in your body, in front of your spine, up to heart level, green, up to base of throat, blue, bringing it on up to the middle of your head to indigo, out the top of your head, violet. And now stretch that streamer of energy from the center of the earth all the way up through you, up and into a big, huge cloud of energy that I'm just going to call source, because we don't have a word for it in English. And pierce that energy stream now using your will it to have a surge of energy from the center of the earth right up through that beam, up through your body, so that you are, with your will, uplifting, transmuting physical level energy up and into source, creating a geyser or a fountain there in that energy cloud that I'll call source. As you will it to have more, richer, denser, faster, brighter, as you will it to have more energy flowing up that beam, you may feel a pressure inside your body. Just relax against that pressure and allow that beam of energy through the center of you to create a glow that glows right out through you and right out through everything around you. That stream of energy through the middle of you into source, like a filament of a light bulb, creates a glow, and let that glow glow out through your body and out through everything around you. Energy passing through energy. Floors, chairs, walls, ceilings, people, baby ducks, baby rhinos, scout redeeming newspaper with the lotto winnings, whatever you got around you. Just let that glow so that you're allowed now to have your whole energy field. Rather than shape it to the people around you, simply allow it to pass through everything and everyone around you. If you want it bigger, you increase the flow up the beam, just like more electricity through a light bulb, that expands that glow. But allow yourself to breathe and let yourself actually have that expanded space of letting your energy shine out through you, in front of you, behind you, above you, below you, beside you. Let yourself have that space for that breath to allow yourself to have your own energy field. Now, there's a process called anchoring. Simply choose one of your hands and squeeze the tip of the baby finger on the other hand and have this expanded feeling at the same time that you're squeezing that fingertip. That way you've got that fingertip that in the future, if you're feeling like you're jangled, you can squeeze that fingertip again and let it re-trigger you, re-anchor you back into this energetic state of you being your light. Give your body a big breath. And as you let it out, just let it bring your eyes back open and bring you back into the room. Meditation is just the practice of noticing when your mind drifts off and bringing it back. I've had people tell me, gee, Scott, I can't meditate. I tried it. It's sort of like I went to the gym and I lifted the weights once and I didn't get any muscles, so apparently weights don't work for me. Meditation is about noticing that your mind drifted off and bring it back. Noticing that your mind drifted off and bring it back. Noticing that your mind drifted off. Now, as you get further along, it slows down to noticing that your mind drifted off and bring it back. But at the beginning, it's notice you drifted, notice you drifted, notice you drifted, notice you drifted, and just choosing to come back so that you're interrupting those subconscious thought loops that have been shaping your world into crunchy stuff. And you're bringing yourself back to being that bright, shining camp lantern, light radiating out in front of you, behind you, above you, below you, beside you. Everything is energy. And you have the choice to be your own energy flowing and your own light glowing, even in the midst of craziness all around you. Again, that doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. It just means that rather than getting caught up in the craziness around you, bring yourself back to your own center and choose your own state of being with consciousness and awareness. Thank you very much for the support of the group, and thank you all for joining us this evening. I think there may be more to the program, but that's my part. Or if there's questions, I don't know if we have the ability to take questions from the audience. I think I don't, but I think you do.
You know, it's interesting. It was beautiful, Scout. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, namaste, and thank you so much. It's interesting because Tammy and I truly were talking about this morning, and just about how breathing, the impact and the process of doing a focused breathing uh, exercise or practice just brings you immediately back to your center state. And so I talked a little bit about Hob breathing, which is a technique I learned in Huna. So um, maybe I'll share that another night. But it was just it boy, nothing like breathing, right? And so to bring us back to center. So thank you for doing that. That was really beautiful.
And Scout, I would piggyback on what Julie said. Again, it's an honor to be here and support you in the work that you're providing for the universe today. And it's very interesting. I'm sure if you actually talk to any one of us, we would have come to a similar conclusion depending on the modality that we're using. But energy is energy, and it all points to this crossroads that we're at right now. And that's why I believe what we are providing is such an important service and servitude to a community that I know we're going to be building over time. And I really loved, especially because I've never done a meditation that actually uses my body as, I don't know, like a membrane or a piece of cloth, if you will, that all that energy would in breath could go in through there versus through normal channels. And so I really enjoyed that. And I also like the anchor. I can't wait to, I'm sure I'll use it within the next hour. So thank you and many blessings, Scout, for providing what you did for us tonight.
Rachel here. I wanted to share, Scout. It's just amazing what Julie just shared, Kathleen just shared, and that Julie said that she and Tammy were talking about something along the lines of what you talked about tonight. And I just earlier this afternoon, I should say, was talking with a friend who's helping me create an angel class talking about the power of light. And I'd seen the title of what you were talking about tonight, but it was just the energetic resonance is just incredible. So thank you so much. And I am definitely going to utilize that powerful meditation that you brought to us. So awesome. And just coming back to our light is so powerful. Thank you.
Fantastic.
For those of you that are with us, if you've got a mental question going on, and this is a fun experiment, so this is my experiment. On your side of it, you get to find out whether or not I'm doing it, not whether or not you qualified. From my side of it, it's just simply shifting a broadcast to make it palpable so that you can sense it. So if everybody paying attention to the recording or live, it'll work either way. Just take a moment and notice your surroundings. Notice how light or dark the room is around you or the space is around you, wherever you are. Notice how light or dark it is. If there's people in there, notice how close or far away there is. Notice how loud the chatter is in your mind or how quiet the chatter is in your mind. Particularly just notice the colors around you just for a moment. And that's just ground zero. And then here we go. When I did work with Helen Palmer, she made fun of me for using my breath this way. You don't have to. Yeah, well, I like to. There we go. That got it. Cool. All right, now don't expect like that there's necessarily huge changes, but just take a moment now and again, notice the space around you. Notice how light or dark the space around you feels right now. Notice if there's other people around, notice what it feels like to be in that space around them. And then even more so, just take a moment and notice the colors around you. A lot of you are going to notice that it seems almost as if the air got more clear around you, or as if the colors brightened up, or if your eyes got clearer, or even as if somehow I turned up the lights in your room. We all have an energetic broadcast. Now, I've spent some fair amount of time building mine, and I had a natural ability with it to start with, which is what drew me in that direction. You know, people that are good with wood become people that are woodworkers. People that flow energy can't hold an engineering job and have to find something else to do. There we go. All of us have an energy field around us, but the fun part is all of us are affected by the other energy fields we're immersed in. And I really like to reinforce that your body is both your broadcast antenna, but you also it's your receiving antenna, but that we can choose to be our own energy field, our own energy flow, our own energy light, even in a room full of people that are on a completely different frequency. I've watched restaurants change when I blast the energy through the restaurant just for my own entertainment. If I'm in line in a store and the person I see that's ringing up items is grumpy, if they're still grumpy by the time I get there, I'm pretty surprised because I carry my energy pretty substantially, and people all have a natural tendency to match to the most consistently held energy in their space. Now, please hear me. You'll notice I did not say the strongest or the most powerful. I said people tend to match to the most consistently held energy in the space, which is why if you put on an amazing public speaker, people will match to that speaker's energy. On the other hand, if you have a whole office full of people and you install one really grumpy person, people will match to the grumpy person, not because grumpy is stronger than anything else, but because grumpy people are really consistent with their mantra. You know, you can say, wow, it's a beautiful sunny day outside, and they'll give you back, it's going to fade the paint on my car. 2 days later, you can say, wow, it's raining, it won't fade the paint. I just washed my car, it's going to get, you know, they're solid with their mantra. People tend to match the most consistently held energy in their space. I choose to be the most consistently held energy in my space, and so can you. Thanks for reminding me of that, Rich.
Great. Tammy, Bobby, anything you guys would like to add? Okay. So I would just like to expand on the topic that Scout was talking about, energy, in regards to how we are owning our space and becoming that pillar of grounding light. One of the things that we're experiencing here collectively, and that's coming up more and more for people, is as we're moving universally, galactically through this transition point that's been kind of coming into play over the past 5 years or more, right? We're going into this transition point. The vibrational frequencies of the universe are heightening. They are coming higher. Our vibrational frequency is coming into a higher level. And what that means is that we are able, things are manifesting quicker, energies are moving, we are lifting the veil, the thin veil between the physical and the non-physical is becoming more visible at this time. And so that means that all the efforts that we're doing, these techniques that we're learning, we feel them more within the body. So our ability to tap into the five senses and the tools that we have within the body to learn how to read and translate that information is really important right now. So coming back to that center, coming back into the present moment, which, as you know, is the only moment in which we can actually create, actually become that creative life force energy intentionally, is in the present moment. So just to add to that, the moment that we have the ability to manifest, to choose timelines with our emotions, thoughts, subconscious programs, is from this moment. So all this healing work that you have the ability of tapping into and doing now will affect not just now, but it'll affect what you're bringing into your space. Like Scout was saying earlier, we become a magnetic a magnet, right? And we match in resonance with the experiences, people, places, and things that are in alignment with our subconscious programming. So just remember that over the next month, when we're going through so much uncertainty, uh, this year and the next couple years are major times of uncertainty. And the invitation is for you to find your certainty through that inner divine connection to yourself, to see yourself. And as you connect to you intuitively, in strengthening that dialogue between mind, body, soul, it's almost as if collectively we raise the collective consciousness, each person at a time, as they become more centered, more conscious and aware of themselves. And this is how we create this unified field of consciousness, each individual bringing in a wider band of this life force energy that comes in through your body. And so you become a beacon of light, each and every one of you. So the more of that spiritual life force energy that each and every one of us bring in through our awareness is what helps raise the collective consciousness and heals and holds space for all. So just remember that, and use these tools. And I want to hear comments below, any questions that you guys have. How are you doing? What tools are you using to come back to your center that we haven't mentioned here? And if you felt that this was something valuable to you, please do share, subscribe to the channel, and please visit us on higherhealing.com to connect with any one of these amazing healers that are here on this platform. And it was a pleasure to hold space with you guys today. Thank you so much, Kathleen, Scout, Julie, Rachel, Tammy, and Bobby. And we also have other amazing healers that are listed down below with their websites and information that you can connect with. So thank you so much. I send you all my love, and I look forward to seeing you guys on, I believe, who is doing the next event, guys? It's
First, November 20th.
November 21st. Bobby right here is going to be doing an incredible, do you want to kind of tell everyone what you're going to be doing, Bobby?
Hey, please tune in November 21st. I'll be tuning the collective field. Everybody who is present, you'll get a tuning. I haven't quite thought of the theme. I wanted the month to kind of happen a little bit more before I was kind of filling out the energy of where we're going to go. But I'll be collecting, or I'll be tuning the collective field. Essentially, it's the same way I tune a body when I have my sessions, but it's just the group experience. So
Amazing.
it'll be fun.
Amazing. So Bobby does that biofield tuning, and you can check out his information. Scout, yes.
Just two things I have two favors I'd like to ask of everybody. The first one is really important to me, and that is, if you would please treat yourself as a loved one, because you truly are. And then my second is, no matter where you are on earth, no matter where on earth you are, take a moment and notice that it's a perfect day to have a great day on purpose.
Beautiful. So perfect. Thank you guys so much. All my love, and we will see you on the 21st. Bye-bye.